For the longest time, I didn't tell people that I started playing the violin formally at 19. Music had always been part of my life, deeply so, but the violin specifically came later. And I kept that detail quiet. Not because I was ashamed of my journey, but because I was afraid I wouldn't be taken seriously. Welcome to the Passion Project, Violin Edition, the podcast for busy women violinists who want to play with joy, confidence, and creativity. I'm your host, Marlene, a violinist and coach dedicated to helping you rediscover your passion and make violin a part of your life again, without the overwhelm. Before I begin, I want to share something about this piece. This post was meant to be published the day after I shared my origin story for the first time. I wrote it in March 2023, then stopped. It felt too personal, too exposing. And for a long time, I wasn't ready to name this part of my story publicly. I'm sharing it now because it explains something important, not just about my path as a violinist, but about how fear and credibility often shape what we allow ourselves to say. When I arrived in Canada and auditioned for university, no one knew how recently I had started. I didn't volunteer that information. I wanted to be judged by how I played, not by the timeline behind it. At the time, I had only been playing the violin for 2 years. I had, however, spent my entire life immersed in music. I played piano seriously for years and even completed 3 years of a piano performance degree before making what felt like a reckless decision: switching instruments. I didn't include piano on my application. I sent only my violin audition. What happened next surprised me and quietly reshaped the way my path unfolded. It's a story I'll share some other time. Looking back now, I can see how much courage that required. At the time, all I felt was fear: fear of being dismissed, fear of being seen as illegitimate, fear that my work would be reduced to a number. How long had I been playing? Instead of the depth of what I had built. What I understand now is that this fear shaped more than just what I shared publicly. It shaped how I measured myself. Only later did I realize that starting late didn't make my path weaker. It made it intentional. It made it focused. And it gave me a level of determination and resilience that I didn't yet know how to name. Sharing this now feels different. Not because the fear never existed, but because I no longer believe credibility comes from hiding the parts of ourselves that feel inconvenient or vulnerable. Sometimes, the very thing we are afraid to say out loud is also the source of our strength. Thank you for listening and for letting these words land in your own time.